everybody. It's the bottom of the hour. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome to our June Learning Series webinar, which is Microsoft 365. Latest updates and what's coming up. And there will be a lot coming up because actually Microsoft's fiscal year starts July 1st and they usually make several announcements thereafter. So this is to kind of play catch up on some of the great things that they've introduced over the last 6 months or so in the second half of their current fiscal year. And we'll likely have Jolyn back in the future to give you another update as the continued development cycle continues to bring new innovations to the 365 universe. So for those that don't know me, I'm Dave DelVecchio, the VP of Marketing and Communications for Sourcepass. I'm a 30-year MSP veteran, having run my own MSP in Western Massachusetts for a number of years before joining the Sourcepass journey. I've been doing this long enough to remember things like Y2K and the big release of Windows 95 when that was cutting-edge technology. And when I'm not working in my day job, I've been known to bring the low end to a cover band in my free time. So joining me today, as usual on our Learning Series webinars, is Jolyn Renn. Jolyn's a Microsoft Master Instructor and has led many of these sessions. And she too has been in the IT and MSP space for over 30 years, delivering professional training. So as I mentioned, this is part of our learning series. These typically are scheduled for the second Wednesday of the month and are open to any of our Sourcepass clients or guests that are interested in learning more on how to get additional value out of their existing investments in technology. We tend to focus quite a bit on the 365 universe because for most commercial clients, everything kind of runs through 365, whether it's your email through Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and the dozens of applications that come along with your subscription. Feel free to register for future sessions. You can find those at sourcepass.com/events. You can also find our prior sessions in our video library. So we have the URLs for each on this slide, but you can also go to our Insights menu on our website and be able to get to the links through that manner. In addition to our learning series, we run a digital transformation series. That's typically the fourth Wednesday of the month. We'll be talking later this month about some server projects. To keep in touch with all of the events we have scheduled, do check out our events page. In addition to our virtual events, we also have several upcoming in-person events. We're going to be attending 2 different minor league baseball games, one with our friends in Delaware later this month and next month in Richmond, Virginia. Between those 2 events, we also have a block party at our Pittsfield office where we got a food truck, and hopefully if it doesn't rain like it's been doing it feels like every day for the last 3 months, we're going to hopefully be outside and playing some cornhole and other kind of lawn games in the parking lot outside our Pittsfield office. So anybody up there in Western Mass, we'd love to have you join us. Hit our events page and please register if you can come. I mentioned the digital transformation webinar. It's titled From Downtime to Data Loss, Why Upgrading Aging Servers is a Must for Business Continuity. And I hope you can join this as well. Our digital transformation series is geared more towards IT decision makers, not necessarily end users, for those folks who are responsible for planning and maintaining spending in terms of their IT budgets. So please join us as you start to consider server upgrade, refresh cycles, and infrastructure refresh cycles. As we get started with today's webinar, we do leverage the Q&A button. So if you have questions, feel free to post a question there. And if it's not addressed in line, Jolyn will answer those at the end. Following today's session, you'll receive a link for a survey. We'd love your feedback on both the content of today's session and any ideas you might have for future sessions. So with that noted, let me pass it over to Jolyn, who will lead you through today's discussion on 365. Jolyn, the floor is yours.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Dave, and welcome everyone to our session on what's new and what's coming with Microsoft 365. Super excited to talk to you about this because Microsoft is really committed to kind of this new rebranding that they're doing. They're rebranding, which they do every few years, but they're rebranding things towards AI use. so towards the Copilot usage. But the one thing that I really like about the new rebranding that they're doing right now is they're redesigning applications to be more consistent so that as we transition from one program to another, it's going to be more similar to what it is that it was in the online version versus the desktop version. I go from this app to this app. The icons look the same. The way we do things is the same. And you're going to see that here today in a few demonstrations. So one of the things with this new rebranding is, of course, a new URL. So m365.cloud.microsoft.com is the new URL for accessing your Microsoft 365. Now, by the way, I'll show you what that new screen looks like, the new user interface for when we go into our applications and different things, just to give you an idea. But some of the biggest changes that we've seen so far in 2025, so kind of thinking about this first half of the year, Copilot is everywhere. Seriously, it is everywhere. There is a free version of Copilot, but you get more advantages and connectivity with your 365 if you do have a paid for account. But the price did change a little bit. So you always want to check to see what the pricing is, especially if you're the person responsible for any licensing. But there are a few things that are going to be retiring that I wanted to note as well. The classic Teams app, that's ending here very shortly in a few weeks. Office 360 Office, the old Office products, 2016, 2019, they're going to be at their end of their support coming up in October. Viva Topics and Viva Goals did retire, started to be retiring, I should say, in February. They were doing some, if you go into them, you'll see some notifications letting you know. Also, OneNote for Windows 10 is retiring this fall as well, which that's not a very big deal because we still have OneNote to use. It's just the 365 OneNote, which is probably what you were using anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But some of the key features that I'm going to demonstrate for you today. Now, of course, some of these I can't demonstrate because they're not released just yet. Some of them are coming here in June. And as Dave was alluding to, July is kind of Microsoft's start of their fiscal year, and a lot of things are going to be happening here in the next half of 2025, but we'll talk about that at the end. But some of the key features is going to be Copilot, of course. Microsoft is expanding the Copilot use to all applications. Inside each of the applications, they're giving us additional features and changing a little bit on the structure just to make it more user-friendly. That's one of Microsoft's new branding philosophies this year, is to really make things better for the end users. So they're working towards that. Multiple agent capabilities are also available. They're releasing new ones all the time, new capabilities with Copilot agents. Well, I'll show you where that's located at and how that kind of works here a little bit. Some new things in Excel, of course. I'll demonstrate a couple of things in Excel because pretty exciting. We just got some brand new things just about a week and a half ago that I'll talk about as well. But Copilot and Python are big ones. Text analysis with different, there's a lot of different analysis tools with larger data sets. In Microsoft Word, there are some changes. Microsoft Word is probably one of those that doesn't change very much on its features, but live document summarization is now becoming available. Multilingual proofing capabilities have definitely improved. Microsoft Outlook has a lot of changes to it. I'll demonstrate some of those, but there's a new feature that hasn't been quite released yet that I can't wait for, which is newsletter creation tools will be added to Outlook here. And I believe that that's actually supposed to be coming here very shortly in the next few weeks. But otherwise in PowerPoint, we have different options for using Copilot to help us create presentations. There's better slide rewriting capabilities, or even creating new slides, the capabilities have gotten better and better. A few things on SharePoint and OneDrive as well. There's some great things about using OneDrive through Teams. We have now the ability to, whatever you left off at in OneDrive, you'll come back to that. If you leave OneDrive, come back to it, wherever you were before will be there again instead of going back to the home category each time. So I really like that because usually I'll switch over to something else. I come right back and it's like, oh, I have to go back again. Now we don't have to. So they're making some major improvements once again on that end user side. Of course, Microsoft Teams has had some changes as well. Live chat for external users is available now. Skype is retiring as well, something to keep in the backs of your mind. But let's jump in and take a look at some of these features that I was just mentioning. Starting with Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft Teams does have a few different things that I want to make sure you understand because they've changed some things again already here in 2025. So one of the things was they combined together Teams and chat. You needed to go to chat to actually get to Teams. Well, they had a lot of people not liking that. So now they've changed it again so that we still can have them as separate screens. So we can have the icon for Teams, we can have the separate icon for chat. I personally like it that way. I did not like the change they made a few months back of where they combined chat together. But when you do go to chat, you'll notice right away at the top, there's different filter options. So we can be looking at chats like with coworkers, external users. But if you want to see meeting chats, there's a separate tab at the top for that. I really like that separation before they were combined together. And I like now that they're separated. So just so you can see, that is a newer feature that we have. If you go to a chat, depending on, of course, if it's a regular chat, I'm going to go to just a regular chat, not a meeting chat. In the regular chat, we do have Copilot available. So take advantage of using Copilot in all your apps. At the top right, if you go to the Copilot icon, you can have Copilot work with you in your chats. I could spend all day just talking about what's new in Teams, but that is an option, just so you're aware. When it comes to creating meetings, there's a new calendar. So if I go to the Teams calendar, it is now at the top right. You can switch over to the new calendar. If you haven't done so already, you really should, because this is exactly the same calendar that Outlook uses. Therefore, when you go to create an event, which everything is called an event now, we don't have a appointment, a meeting, and an all-day event anymore. Microsoft has combined them to all just be called event. Thank goodness. Make it easier for us. But when you go to create an event, if I click on the date and the time, I get this little window that I can actually create the event. So let me maximize the window by going to the top right of this so you can see the full window, because it has some different aspects to it. So when you're looking at this, I can put in what the title is going to be. So if I'm going to be doing a department meeting, I can invite attendees, of course. I can make this an in-person meeting. Down at the bottom here on the right-hand side, I can make this an in-person event. Therefore, I want people to attend in the conference room or whatever, not virtual. But you'll notice right away that it gave me the calendar on the right-hand side, and it's giving me find a time in the middle. So if you're inviting your coworkers to a meeting, immediately you're going to know if everybody is available. We don't have to go to the scheduling assistant to see that. On the right-hand side of the screen, if I move this meeting, and by the way, I could just take my hand and pan it up. I'm going to move this up. Notice how it becomes red when me or others are not available. But as I move it down, if it's green, you know you're good to go. That's pretty cool that it does that. And back on the left-hand side of this window, if you want this to be an actual Teams meeting, slide the button over for Teams. Then you're going to be able to put in the description of whatever it is the meeting is about. You'll have that capability. Down at the bottom, you have your typing area. So we have these great options for creating a meeting. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and click send like I normally would. But when you go to create a meeting, if you do it in Outlook, so if I go to the new Outlook and on the left-hand side, click calendar, I want to show you how they're the same. If I go to, and you can see that meeting I just added, if I go to add a meeting, I'm going to get the same window that I saw when I was in Microsoft Teams. So I can do the same thing. I could do department meeting. I could say if this is going to be in person or if it's going to be a Teams meeting, I can slide the button over, or if I wanted it to be in person, we can invite others to join us, etc. So we're seeing the same things. Once again, on the right-hand side, I can see if it's green or if it's red to show the availability of everyone. Now, I'm not really going to send that one, just so you know, but great to have them be the same. We don't have to relearn how to do something when we're in a different app. Back to Microsoft Teams for a minute. There is some changes to the top of the calendar. It matches what you're seeing in Outlook. So when I look at the date, like if I look at today's date, you can see this little building icon. That actually says that I'm working in the office today. So we have a way to say, based on our calendar settings, we can go in and say, these are the days I work, here's the hours each day, and I work remote this day, I work in the office this day. We can do that by changing our settings. And also notice we have the weather. So weather is now available in Microsoft Teams calendar as well. But just to show you, if I go to the top right, click on the dot, dot, dot for my menu, I can go into my Teams settings. And just so you can see, your settings now includes everything on the left-hand side. So if I want to go to appearance, I want to go to chats and channels. Chats and channels, by the way, is where we can tell it we want them to be separate. So chats and channels is where we can say we want chat and Teams to be in a separate window, or they're combined by default. But this is where you could change that. But as you can see, there's a lot of orgs and account information that you can have, privacy, accessibility, etc. This is where you can come in and manage all those options. I really like the new settings choices. So a lot of different things have happened here in Teams, but one last thing before I switch over to another app, because we'll run out of time here. But when you go to OneDrive, I just came into Teams, just came into OneDrive, it does default to the home category. But what if I switch over to my favorites when I'm looking at my OneDrive? So now I'm working in my favorites. I have all my normal things that I would see. But if I go to someplace else, like let's say I go to Teams. If I'm in Teams and I'm doing some different things in Teams, which there's a few different changes here. You could see when you're looking at these channels, by the way, you could see dates and you could see an edit icon, a little pencil icon. So a little bit of change there. But if I go back to OneDrive again, it's going to take me back to where I left off on. I was on favorites, so it took me back to favorites. So it's going to do that now as you switch back and forth in between. So I really like that capability. Now I did, there is like a gazillion different things that we could discuss, but I'm trying to really focus on things that are probably more relevant for everyday use. I mean, there's a few other things that are kind of background things that are happening, but I won't get into all of those because I could spend all day just talking about the changes since January of 2025. But the big one to me, I think, is that new calendar. That new calendar to me in Teams is probably one of my favorite things, which by the way, you can filter the calendar as well. So it does have the capability of being able to filter the calendar. So at the top right, we have different views, week view, work week view, that kind of thing. But it does have a filter depending on what it is that you want to see based on the appointments within your calendar. And one last thing about the calendar as well, if you go to create a new event, you could go just directly to the top right. But if you click the down arrow next to it, if you wanted to create a meeting that is going to be connected to a channel that's no longer in the appointment window, you would come to this drop down to do that, where you could choose channel meeting. When you do a channel meeting, it gives you the capability of connecting it to a team channel. Otherwise, it doesn't give you that capability on the main events window, just so you could see it's different. Okay, but here's where I could add the channel. So if I want this to be part of the social media, marketing department, etc., we have the capability of doing that. And by the way, if you're doing it to a channel, on the right-hand side, send personal invites will send an invitation to everybody that is a member of the channel you choose. So it will automatically do that for you. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't do send personal invites, they don't get an invitation unless you add them. It will, of course, be available for everybody in the channel, but it doesn't send them to put it on their calendar, just so you're aware of that. I'm not really going to send that. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And I do want to switch over to Microsoft Excel. So changes that we have seen in Microsoft Excel are fantastic, by the way. There was a feature that was added just a week and a half ago or so, and that's going to be on your data tab of the ribbon. If you have a Copilot license, there's some additional things, like when you click on a cell, you have that somewhat annoying Copilot icon that shows up. Just so you know, you can click the icon. When you click the icon, it has different choices of using Copilot on that cell that you're clicked on. Get deeper analysis using Python, suggest a formula column, conditional formatting. It gives you your typical Copilot type features. But if you don't like that icon appearing every time you click on a cell, you can hide until you reopen this document. So while you're in it right now, it can hide that icon. So if you don't want it, you can hide it. And another feature that is available if you have Copilot is on the data tab of the ribbon. Just recently introduced is this feature called Clean Data. If you click this clean data, it takes you into the Copilot window. Now, by the way, you can open up a workbook, and it will give you a message across the top saying that a sheet within your workbook needs to be cleaned up. It will give you a link to go directly to that sheet and give you some options for what needs to be cleaned up. So you can see that what it told me about the range of data I'm in on the right-hand side is extra spaces. A1 through J1465, which is my range of data I'm in, may have redundant extra spaces. Do I want to remove them? So it helps us clean up the data source so that as we're doing analysis, we get the correct results out of it. To me, this is mind-blowing. This is a feature that I wished for 10, 15 years ago in Excel, because otherwise we had to visualize, what's wrong with my data. We didn't have all these great capabilities. It does have the option, if you want to use it, if it recognizes duplicate records and stuff, although we do have the duplicate feature on the data tab of the ribbon. But I'll just click apply on the right-hand side, and it will automatically fix that for me. So now it doesn't have any suggestions. Everything is good to go. It cleaned up all of that information. So every time you go to a sheet, it could pop up at the top and say your range of data needs to be cleaned. Or you can click clean data, and it will give you those options as well. But otherwise, Copilot is available to work with. And of course, it is giving us some more advanced features than we've had in the past with Copilot. So if I go to my home tab of the ribbon, click Copilot in any of our apps, of course, we will have Copilot on the right-hand side available. But what's different on this right now is notice there's another pane on the very right-hand side. That's going to be Copilot versus my cleanup. So I have two icons I can toggle back and forth in between using Copilot features. But you can see that it's giving us a few different additional options. And by the way, Copilot Everywhere has been enhanced to be more friendly based on that natural language that it uses, so that if you ask it to do something, the prompts that you're going to see at the bottom are going to be related to what you were communicating with already. The ability of the data analysis that it's doing within your range of data has been improved. A lot of different improvements. So when it comes to working with Copilot, lots of different things you could do. And by the way, not only is it giving us the suggestions up at the top, it's giving me suggestions at the bottom, like show data insights, show a suggestion for a formula column. So it gives us continuing additions at the bottom as well. Lots of cool things going on in Excel. But of course, Excel has added additional functions like they do all the time as well. There's translate functions working with different detections of languages and different things. We also have different views that can be used and being able to focus on a cell. So let's say that I go to the View tab of the ribbon. You know how we have live collaboration capabilities? Well, what if you're in a worksheet and somebody else is in there also, and they start filtering the data? Well, it normally would be filtering for you as well. If you decide that you would like to have your own filter capability, you can create views. On the View tab of the ribbon on the left-hand side, we have Sheet View. So let's say that I go to the Data tab and I apply a filter for this data, and I want to filter by department, and somebody else is in this worksheet with me. They don't want to filter that data by the same thing I'm doing. On the View tab of the ribbon, I can actually go and say, I want to create this new view, and I want to keep the view that I'm in right now, and I'm the only one that needs to see it. So just so you know, we have those options that we can be using. Also, and I'm going to say exit. I'm going to go to the View tab on the left-hand side and say exit, so I'm not in that custom view anymore. If you click on a cell, you have the ability to do what is called on this View tab, Focus Cell. What this allows you to do, as you can see by the screen tip, it says highlight the column and row of the active cell. So if you have a cell you want to have stand out as you're doing different things, you could do that by now using this feature called Focus Cell. So we've got some pretty cool things that can be going on here in Excel. A lot of improvements to text functions as well. But something that I use on a pretty regular basis, and let me just clear my filter here for right now. One of the things that I'm going to turn off that focus cell for right now. Another thing that I use on a pretty regular basis are checkboxes. We now can select a range of cells, and from the Insert tab of the ribbon, we have checkbox. If you select cells, or just one cell, you can click checkbox and it will give you an actual checkbox, which is a control that we could use to check things off our list. So that's a great feature that I am happy to have for sure. But Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention on the View tab. So sorry. I'm going to go back to the View tab. I'm going to close Copilot on the right-hand side for a second. I forgot to mention we also have a new navigation. If your workbook has a lot of worksheets, go to the navigation option from the View tab of the ribbon, and you will be able to navigate your sheets and named ranges within the navigation pane that opens on the right-hand side. So if I want to go to the dates worksheet and I want to go to this range of cells, I have the capability of drilling into exactly where I want to go within my sheets and within the data within those sheets. So I really like that because it's quicker and easier than our old navigation of our sheets down at the bottom. So like that new feature for sure. Anyway, there's a few other things, but those are going to be the main things that you're going to notice in Microsoft Excel that have been released so far this year. There are a few things that are new in PowerPoint as well. So let me just go to my PowerPoint presentation. And I'm just going to slide my presentation over. A couple of things that I want to mention. Big changes with Copilot. Copilot icon is available on the right-hand side of the screen. At the top left, you have a Copilot icon. So when you come into an existing presentation, you will see that Copilot icon. But what happens if I'm in a brand new presentation? When you are in a new presentation, that Copilot icon at the top of the right-hand side of the screen is going to be a great way to get started creating a new presentation. You could create a presentation by telling it what you want the subject to be. You could create it from a file, and it can be an Excel file, a Word document, a PDF, etc. It will analyze that file and give you slides that also include speaker notes and images automatically. Or if you just want to add a slide to your current, if I want to add an agenda slide, whatever the case might be, Copilot can now do that. But I'm going to say create a presentation just to show you how this currently works because they've revised this recently. I really like this. I use it all the time. But what do I want to create a presentation about? Let's say it's going to be about working as a team during a large project. Just to give you an idea of, you type in a description of whatever it is you want the presentation to cover, and it gives you the capability of seeing the slides and removing the ones you don't want, adding ones in between what they're giving us as default. So notice this is that first group of slides. The importance of teamwork in large projects. On the right-hand side, I could delete the topic, or if I want to add a slide in between two slides, I can click the plus sign, which universal commands going from one application to another, and then tell it what it is that I want to add in. Add a topic about communication. I'll just say that. Now, if I wanted to reference a file for that new slide that I wanted to add in there, I could. Otherwise, it's got new topics that it's going to add in. So if I decide that, yes, this is what I want to keep, go to the bottom right, click on Generate Slides. It will then create the slides. It's going to give us images. It's going to give us text. It puts them in sections. It automatically gives you speaker notes. I don't know of any other easy way to create a presentation by any other method. No other software program is doing what this is capable of doing. So anyway, it's going to show you all the slide content. Once it's done, I'm sorry, it's creating probably more slides I should have gotten rid of. Some of these, it's going a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but it even has a conclusion slide at the end. So pretty great that it could do all of that. So once it's done, it actually is applying a design right now. It's almost there. If I wanted to, of course, change up the design or do anything, of course, I'm going to be able to still work with it as a normal presentation because we can always make changes to things after it's done. But anyway, why that's working, it opens it by default in the slide sorter view. And you can see the different sections that each of the slides are in. But let me go ahead and click Keep It down at the bottom. And I want to double click on the first slide here. And as I'm navigating slides, notice the speaker notes. So as I'm moving from slide to slide, it's already got speaker notes. So it's giving us some suggestions. But I got to tell you, this is a great way to get started. Now, of course, you need to put your own spin on it, use your own images, you know, those kind of things. But I don't know why you would start from scratch completely if you don't have to. This, to me, is a great way to really take advantage of what we have. But let's transition over to, oh, and by the way, one more thing before I leave PowerPoint. Notice on the Home tab of the ribbon, in the Slides group, you can create a new slide with Copilot directly without having Copilot open. If I click New Slide with Copilot, I could give it a description of what it is that I want this slide to be about, or it gives me suggested prompts as well. Or I can reference a file at the top right. So pretty cool that we have that to create a new slide, because it's a new slide, but it's just taking advantage of Copilot with it as well. So pretty cool. But let's transition over to Outlook, because Outlook has definitely had some changes to it. I'm in the new Outlook. So at the top right, my button is slid over to the new Outlook. I'm not using the classic version. When you select an email message, some of the things that are going to be a little bit different when you kind of look at the user interface is there's less tabs going on the ribbon. We didn't need all the commands coming with all those tabs that we used to have, so they've really kind of cleaned things up a lot. When you look at the Home tab of the ribbon, of course, the icons are a little bit more modern, which is great. I really like those, but there's some missing things that we had previous that we don't see now. One of those is actually the cleanup conversation. If you're on an email that was part of a conversation, in the delete group, we used to have a cleanup option. Now it's been replaced with what is called sweep. If I choose sweep, it can help you create a rule based on the message you are selected on, where we can move all the messages to the inbox or wherever. I could say, which is the old cleanup conversation, I could say always keep the latest message and move the rest from the inbox and move it to deleted items or wherever I tell it to go. So instead of the old cleanup conversation, we now have sweep. Another feature that we have that is new is if you look at my folders, notice that I have a couple of folders that are different colors. If you right click on a folder from the pop-up menu, you can now change the color. So folders can stand out differently based on colors now. I like that. Also, a message can be pinned. So in your list of email messages, when you hesitate, you have a push pin icon. If you click the pin, it will pin it to the top into a category called pinned. And if you receive a new message, so let's say that you have a brand new message. I'm just going to forward this message to me, just so you could, oops, sorry. Let me just send this message to myself so that you can see when I get a new email message coming in, we now have the capability of doing what is called snooze. We can snooze the message because what if I'm busy working on other things and I don't want that message to be there right now. I want it to come back later today or tomorrow or whatever. It can be snoozed. So I'm going to go to this message that I just received. I can either right click on it or I can go to the Home tab of the ribbon. I'm going to click snooze and I'm going to say snooze this for later today. Or I could choose a custom date and a custom time. Like maybe I want it, you know, at 3 o'clock today, whatever. Whatever you click, it removes that message from your inbox. And what it does is it temporarily puts it in a new folder on the left-hand side called snoozed. You can always go to the snoozed folder and see the message that you snoozed. So if I said, snooze till 4 o'clock this afternoon, if I change my mind, I could still go back to the message. I really like this new snoozed because it helps you to get focus time. We don't have to have all these things popping up and, distracting us. We now have that capability of being able to manage our messages a lot better than we ever had before. But there's a couple of other things that I want to mention. One other thing that I'll mention when it comes to being on an email message, on the right-hand side, if you want to get a summary of that message, we have capabilities right on the right-hand side with Copilot. At the top of the message itself in the reading pane, just click Summary by Copilot. It will automatically summarize the conversation of the message you are clicked on. You can also use Copilot for a lot of other things in Outlook as well. We can have Copilot help us write an email. So if I create a brand new email, Copilot is available right in the actual content of your message. You can use Copilot to help you draft a message. You could say, I want this to request information. It's an announcement. By the way, I do now have that create newsletter, but we have the ability to have Copilot help us. But what if we actually started a draft message? Let's say that we actually started a message, and depending on how much information you actually have in that message, we also have the capability of being able, I got to put more text in here, sorry about that, to use Copilot from the Home tab of the ribbon. We can use coaching capabilities. So it can read the message itself, the full message, read your response or read what you currently wrote in your new message, and it can help you to rewrite it. So it can look at the tone, the clarity, etc., and give you suggestions on how you could write that response based on what they were giving us previously or what you put in your brand new message. But also, another thing that I want to make sure that you do understand is your settings in Outlook. If you go to the top right of the window, we've got a few new things that I want to mention. Notice I've got this little scrolling window right here as I hesitate. It's showing me my upcoming appointments without me going to the actual calendar. But what if I want to see my calendar automatically, or I want to see my to-dos? At the top right, there is this icon with a check mark. When you click it, you have two tabs that will open in a pane on the right-hand side, giving you the calendar so you can see your calendar appointments and be able to respond to a message at the same time. But if I go to the top of that window, I can click to do, and it will show me my task list coming from the to do app over on the left-hand side. But also it's going to give you the icon for your notifications at the top right, the bell icon. So I don't have any notifications right now, but if I did, they could be displayed there. And then the gears icon at the top right is where you can access your settings for Outlook. Highly recommend checking these out. This is where you'll get your automatic replies, manage your signatures, manage your categories. You can manage your on the general category, you can manage your notifications, etc. But the feature I want you to be aware of is calendar. The calendar settings is where you can now go to add, of course, different time zones. But in this middle category settings is where your work hours is. If you go to the middle when you're on calendar, go to work hours and locations, and you can say which days of the week do you work and what are the hours you work those days. So what are the hours individually? And on the right-hand side, you can choose, are you working remote or are you working in the office those days? That way it can be available to anybody working at wanting to schedule an event with you. They'll know your availability exactly for each day. They'll see the icon to let them know if you're working in the office or you're working remotely. So love that capability, and that of course transitions over to your Microsoft Teams as well. So I'm going to click save down at the bottom and save the changes that I made to that. So when it comes to the changes that we have in Outlook, there's a lot of different things going on. Don't be overwhelmed. Get comfortable with what you use the most. But there has been some changes to contacts that I do want to mention. Contacts to me is really the best thing that they could have changed because on the left-hand side, we can now have a favorites category. You have your contacts, you have your contact list, you have your other folders that transition over, but everything looks and works just like we had on our phones. So if you go to your mobile device, everything looks similar to a mobile phone on the way that the icon looks, the features that we have. We don't have the old contact window like we used to. But what I also like is when you are selected on a contact, you have different tabs on the reading pane on the right-hand side. You have overview, you have contact. If you had been working with files with that person, you could access files or email messages, etc. So great way to be able to see what's going on with a coworker without having to go to multiple places to find that information. So a lot of cool things with Microsoft Outlook. Even some additional features that I won't get into all of it today, but groups have changed. So if I'm on my mail category on the left-hand side, by the way, there is a go to groups in your folder list. This has been revamped recently where you can see all of your different Microsoft groups. You can create new groups. Whichever group you select, you will have access to the shared email, shared files with that group, shared events, so the calendar. You can manage the members of the group. So everything is directly related to working with that group. So great improvement to the group's capability within Microsoft Outlook. But there's more that is new or revised, and one of them has actually recently changed. If you go to Copilot, the app Copilot, they have moved the menu from the right-hand side of the screen to the left-hand side of the screen. And by the way, this is more user-friendly because most navigation is on the left-hand side. You go to Outlook, it's on the left. You go to Teams, it's on the left. So now it's consistent throughout your applications. But what else has changed? Well, there's a few other things that you should be aware of that have changed. I'm actually in my Microsoft account. So I am seeing the capability of chatting, but I could actually go to the top right and click M365. I'm in my M365 Copilot. I have an icon to the right of it to shrink that window on the left if I don't want to see it. Because depending on your screen size, we have different categories. They were available on the right, now are on the left. One is actually the chat. You could go directly to previous chats, see agents, go to your conversations or go to your pages that you've been collecting information from. So as an example, if I expand to the category called agents, this is a relatively new feature that was released here this year, and it's going to continue to improve, and Microsoft will continue to add agents. But agents are the way that we can have an assistant to Copilot. We can develop our own agents, or there are built-in options as well. If I go to the category called All Agents, it's going to show me a list of the agent store. These are the agents that are available, brought to you by either Microsoft or other applications. Microsoft has several different agents. You can search for agents, and these are little helper apps to help you be using Copilot, which can carry over to your other Microsoft apps, by the way, like Microsoft Word. Word and PowerPoint allows me to switch over and take advantage of these agents. We could have agents in SharePoint all over the place. But how do they work? Well, a couple of the agents that I have added in is Visual Creator. I have this one called Decisions. I have Priority Matrix, Researcher, Analytics. These are additional tools that I can use through Copilot. So if I go to the left-hand side and just click Researcher, because it's under my list of agents that I've already added, it changes my window on the right-hand side to take advantage of that agent to help me do my searching with Copilot or to do my analysis with Copilot. So Researcher is giving me suggested prompts like executive status report on a specific project, update me on a specific topic I've been working on, help me prepare for a meeting, analyze market position for a company. These are all going to take advantage of the additional tool called Researcher. If I go to the left and I click Decisions, Decisions opens on the right-hand side, and I can ask it anything about upcoming meetings, agendas, what agenda items should I have with my upcoming meeting, help me find topics that I could cover during an upcoming meeting, those kind of things. But the regular chat has also been enhanced, because if you have a license with 365, at the top of the right-hand side, you will see Work and Web. When I'm on Work, it's connected to my 365. I will get suggested prompts under the chat window, which is a new design they just came out with within the past week or so. And I can ask it, here's some suggestions. What's the latest from this person? Organized by email, etc. I just click send and it automatically looks at everything related to that coworker or that person and gives me a summary of everything. So it's going to work directly with your 365, going out and looking at files, looking at emails, looking at tasks. It can tell you, what did I miss the last 3 days on emails? Is there anything on my radar that I should be aware of? All those kind of things. So it's looking through everything and finding all this information related to that one person. But if I switch it over to web at the top, it's going to change where it searches. It's really going to be searching the internet. So my suggestions of my prompts down at the bottom are now related to searching the web, like analyze text in the following and make suggestions, prepare for a brief of news from the finance industry. Let's say that I actually select that one and I choose send. It's going to go out to the internet and find the information, and it is more intuitive than it's ever been before because it gives you additional prompts down at the bottom that are suggestions based on what it is you were already searching on. So the interaction that we are actually getting with Copilot now is unbelievable. And of course, there's more coming by the end of the year. But I got to tell you, the changes to the Copilot app and the use of agents, which can be, of course, used in other apps as well, has really enhanced our capability of what we're doing with Microsoft and what we're doing with making our lives easier as we utilize our applications. But also on the left-hand side, there are some new features. One is called Notebooks. This is a new feature that Microsoft has released with Copilot, where we can have, as you can see, it says create your own AI-powered notebook customized to the content that matters most. So I could click create, or I could go into suggestions and have notebooks being used directly with Copilot now. On the left-hand side, I also have a create icon, and this is all things that just were released within the past 10 days or so. But when I go into create, what do I want to create? Do I want to create a video, create a form, create an image? What do I want to do? So it gives us the capability of walking us through working in creating those different types of items. And at the bottom left, I will see apps. So these are going to, of course, be my Microsoft apps. I have quick, easy access to everything that I need on this left-hand side, this navigation pane. So if I want to go into my Word, I want to go into Teams from here, whatever, I can access any of my applications. Here's my whole list of every application. And on the left-hand side is where your profile went. So at the bottom left, your profile is now located at the bottom. It used to be at the top right. They are moving things to be consistent to have your profile at the bottom left now. And to the right of it, you have your settings. So you can access your settings for your Microsoft here. So if you want to change the light appearance to the dark appearance, that kind of thing, it only gives you a couple of settings for this specific window. Okay, but I got to tell you, there are so many cool things that have already been released and a bunch that are still coming. So you really want to take advantage of, what exactly is going on with Copilot, with your Microsoft 365. So as you saw in those last couple of slides and what I demonstrated for you, there's already been a lot that has been coming out with all your different apps. There's changes in forms, there's changes in Power Automate, there's changes pretty much everywhere. Microsoft Lists now have forms built right into them. Unfortunately, with only an hour, I can't go through every option, but you've seen some pretty great features that we have available. So some key features in all the apps is going to be Copilot. The existence, the enhancements, the new features, those are going to continue into the rest of 2025. So when we talk about what's coming up for the rest of the year, they're going to continue to make major improvements and enhancements and new features, new capabilities with multiple agents, the customization capabilities in Copilot. They're going to be giving us user-friendly add-in features to help us do things quicker and easier, different language options, that newsletter capability with Outlook is being introduced and it already has an enhancement that's coming out. So there's a lot that's going to be coming up as well over this next 6 months. So I did want to, give you a couple of different options on websites that you can go to. Here's one website. It's the techcommunity.microsoft.com. This will help you to know what's coming up. You can register for it, sign up for it. It will let you know some things that are coming. Also, this website, office/watch or -watch.com, will let you know different things that are coming up. There's a Microsoft roadmap that you want to be aware of. That's another option that you could be doing. So just a few websites to kind of show you. I use this roadmap a lot because I can then choose the individual app that I want to check on to see what's coming up for that app. Sometimes it's a little bit more technical, but I still like this roadmap for Microsoft products. I could choose what the product is and it will filter to show me what's coming up with that specific application or Microsoft 365 in general. So that was a lot of different things that have been released over the first part of this year, and just a little bit of kind of talking about what's coming up over the next 6 months. But definitely Microsoft's commitment to Copilot is what you really want to look at, because if you're not taking advantage of Copilot, I do highly recommend using Copilot.